Hello.
Hey.
It's time for another smutty book talk. Except we got the surprise that there wasn't any smut.
No smut. None.
Not one sentence of smut.
None. Nothing. No raunchiness whatsoever.
Womp womp.
It sounds like we're being sarcastic, but we're really not.
No, really. Not a bit. And I'm the one who kind of roped you into this one, right? Because I'm the one who's like, look,
Yeah.
necromancy, sword fighting, lesbian erotica. And you're like, I'm in. Me too.
And then we're like, oh.
I feel like we should have that Meatloaf song, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You know?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of necromancy.
A whole lot.
Sword play.
Yeah,
not
not
the high sword.
No, it like and I'll show everybody that since we got the physical copy here, we're talking about Gideon the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess she is supposed to have a book 4, but book 4 has not come out yet.
Huh. Well, I'm like, so many people die. Is there even anybody left of the 4th house?
No one.
So it's called Gideon because the main character is Gideon. The 9th comes from, she is coming from the 9th planet, which is also referred to as a house. So, so in this world, and it can be really hard to follow. You had the benefit of having the physical book that you could see the genesis, like what I call it. So this house begot so-and-so, begot so-and-so, begot so-and-so. The second house is,
Yeah. So like, here's like the example. And yeah, I guess for people that don't know, I read the physical copy. Melissa does the audio book, but in the physical copy, like this is what it looks like. It gives the breakdown of the house and like the people in it, and then same thing continued onto the other page. It still doesn't give you a whole lot of information because, for example, like the 6th house, the Emperor's Reason, the Master Wardens. So it's just kind of like, well, what does that still mean? Like, what do you mean by the Emperor's Reason? Like, same thing with how they describe the 9th. Like the 9th is Keepers of the Locked Tomb, House of the Sewn Tongue, and the Black Vessels. So like, what does that mean?
And it's never referenced in the rest of the book.
No, the only thing they mention is that locked tomb, and that's it. The whole reasoning for that house is to guard this tomb.
So this 9th house, this 9th planet, they're guarding that tomb. They have a pretty important job, right? Amongst all these other planets. And yet all these other planets talk so much shit.
Yeah.
The 9th house.
The 9th house is like the goth kids of the planet solar system.
They are.
They like don't go out. So like when they have big planet parties, like the 9th house is not there. And they are very religious based. So like they have like a structure of doing things. They have their nuns, they can't leave without their face paint every day. And so like they're just such a mystery, and no one really, they're like, what are these guys really up to? I don't like them.
Yeah. Which I was just kind of like, wow. So the book, right? All of these other houses, all the other planets have been summoned by this overreaching god to come and level up their necromancy, right? Because everybody's a necromancer.
Yeah, except for the Cavaliers. So technically, for anyone interested, Gideon is not the Necromancer. Each Necromancer is given basically their soldier, which is their cavalier. And Gideon is the cavalier of the 9th house Necromancer.
Mm-hmm. So she's like the bodyguard. She's supposed to keep her necromancer safe. Mm-hmm. There's kind of like this I hate you, but I might like you trope going on between Gideon and her necromancer.
Yes.
And that's about as smutty as it gets.
Yeah, there's like a scene where they're in like water for like a brief period of time, and I was like, okay, now kiss, but they don't.
Yeah. Nothing happens. Not even a slow burn. This is a wet campfire that will not light or start.
Yeah. I mean, so it kind of makes it hard because like their big catchphrase of this book is lesbian necromancers explore a haunted Gothic palace in space. We were talking about briefly how we couldn't, other than Gideon thinking that other chicks are hot and other chicks thinking Gideon's hot, there's really a hard, like, as far as a lesbian goes, it's hard for me to kind of say, oh yeah, like I can, yeah, lesbians, but there's no proof, I guess, of lesbianism other than titty magazines.
Yeah, because she tries to bribe the one guard with titty magazines.
Yes.
So really, this is a sci-fi with fantasy. It is on another planet. There's spaceships. There's obviously the necromancy. But I will admit, when I read books, like a movie plays in my head, right? And I struggled constructing the movie in my head reading this book because I could not picture what this planet, what this building, like what any of this was supposed to look like. And I'm like, is that because I'm expecting a perceived notion of what a planet would look like, of what a building, but it goes from being described as like a cathedral to all of a sudden it sounds like a hospital. Deep mysterious hallways hidden behind rooms that they're having to fight over keys about. And I'm like, I can't follow this.
Yeah, you've got an indoor pool, you've got like a training room, like there's a lot happening in this place, to where, yeah, it is. And I can 100% agree with that. Like, I did rate this on Goodreads, and the only reason why I did not rate it a 5 is because I couldn't follow half the time, because I'm the same way. I want to see what this place is. I want to see where they're at, and half the time I'm like, I can't even picture the room that they're standing in right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And like there's not even a good description of like where their rooms are.
No.
So it's like, oh, their rooms are off the kitchen, second hallway on the left, right? Like you have no idea where they are. So when Gideon or somebody leaves to go over here, you're like, well, they're just lost in space now because I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I know that there's a morgue attached to the dining room somewhere. That's all I know.
Yeah. I struggled with this in the book. I struggled with that because I'm like, ooh, this is a unique blending of atmosphere, of a layout, of, storytelling. And I feel like she missed it a little bit. Like there's no clear, and maybe she was trying to leave that kind of up in the air because she wanted you to focus on the characters. But then I feel like there was so much character developed that did not happen for some of them.
Yes.
Until right before something big happens. And all of a sudden we get like 2.5 paragraphs about the character of one of the other side characters, and I'm like, why do I care now? But I personally will not be going on to book 2 or 3. I know you are. You're like, but I liked it. And I'm like, oh, I hated it.
it left it to where it was interesting enough for me to continue into book 2 to see what happens. But there's a lot of people, because like after I finish reading a book, I'll go and be like, okay, now I can watch videos on it. And a lot of people were the same way, where they're like, I feel like I can stop at book 1. It's not that I hated it, but I also didn't. After how it ended, I don't care to go into book 2. And with how mind-boggling this is half the time, this is not a relaxing read by any means. This isn't like a cozy night in, I want to just mindlessly read. You have to like stay super focused on the world and the characters, and sometimes the way that they speak is very different. Also, I hope you're good at anatomy, because if you don't know where your tibia and your fibula are and your metacarpals and all that stuff, you're not going to understand some of these things, because it's very, they don't just say bone for everything. They're like, oh yeah, your tibia and your fibula, and you know, like, and you have to, I hope you know where those are. I hope you took anatomy and remember science class. So
yeah, because the main necromancer, her name is Gideon's necromancer. Her name's escaping me. Like, she walks around with bones and she'll sprinkle them on the ground like little bone bits and raise whole skeletons like out of the ground. And I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. But depending, if I remember correctly, depending on the type of bone she's sprinkling or using, can dictate the size of skeleton that is coming up. So, and at one point, I think the best scene in the book, though, was that ginormous skeleton that filled, like, it was like this monster, like, take Home Depot's 12-foot skeleton and make him bigger. Like,
yeah, make him bigger and spider-like and just made entirely out of bits and pieces of bones.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, shit, that's a good guard dog. I like him. Yeah. But
the other cool thing I thought was that each house does necromancy very differently. So like the 9th house is like how you would consider your typical like necromancer of like sprinkling bones and raising the dead from like the ground, etc. Like they are the typical like skeleton bone magicians. While the other houses, because I had to do some research on this because I was like, who had the abilities? I'm confused. Some of them, so it basically breaks it up into, there's bone necromancy, spirit necromancy, and one that's escaping me. So some of them deal with, you know, more of they had to use flesh. Some of them had, and blood. Some of them had to use flesh and blood. Some of them they can use the spirits. They can use bones. So it just depends. But the 9th is like they're your stereotypical rise of the dead necromancers.
Now that you say that, how did you like that bit of cannibalism that happened?
Oh yeah, that was, and it ended up being the girl that I hated, and I was like, I don't like you anyway.
So I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
It was gross.
So I mean, I can't say that I wouldn't not. This is still better than the ghost book we read, that very first book we ever did. This is still
God.
But
it's definitely, if you go even on Goodreads and look at reviews, you either have 5 stars or you have 2 to 1 stars. So it really ranges. And if you're not into necromancy, if you're not into the magical side of things and basically just magic in general, this probably won't be your book. I find necromancy super interesting. I find it super, I don't know, I just think it's really, really cool. So it grabbed my attention. But if you're not a fan of that, it probably is not for you, because there is like a lot of necromancy.
Hey, Chris. So she's like, what book are you talking about? So we are talking about Gideon the 9th. I wrote Sierra into this. This one's my fault. Though I think this is the first book where I'm like, meh, and you like it.
Yeah.
Because we've usually agreed. And I'm like, Sierra, and I sent her a screenshot of it. And I'm like, necromancy, swords, and lesbian smut. And she's like, I'm in. And I'm like, I'll read it too. And there's no smut. Not. I don't think anybody even kissed. I think it's like hinting, like, hi. Because at one point the girls are like, how big are your muscles, Gideon?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's as far as they get.
Yeah, they're very fascinated with her, and she has that vow of silence, so she really can't say anything.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, Sierra, they're worrying about muscles,
And I'm like, I'm in.
So, it's very heavy in with the necromancy. So sci-fi, because they're different planets. These planets are all being summoned to compete to see who can be the next level necromancer that has not been created for like hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. So their overreaching god has like, it is time for one of you to step up and do the things. And there's a plot twist in there with one of the houses. But I struggled. And just to repeat again for Chris, like I had a hard time picturing the planet, the scenery, the surrounding area. Because at first they land on this planet and it's described as an old Gothic-ish type cathedral. With these caretakers, and they're like, it is so old. There is no contacting anybody off this planet. We don't have doctors. We don't have shit here. But here's the key to your room, and you stay in your wing. And then it's like it like morphs into, as they're doing these challenges and competing, to like now it's like a hospital, because there's one room that's like a scrub room, a scrub-in room, and I'm like, did they planet hop somewhere, because now it's a hospital? So I was struggling a little bit, but if you like a lot of necromancy and you like a lot of flirtation without it turning into anything, you might like this. Sierra loved it. So I finished listening to this on my way to Tucson at the airport, and I texted her and I'm like, this fucking book. And she's like, what? Oh no. And I'm like, I'm not going to ruin it for you. And then when she finished it, she's like, I'm balling this book.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So this is how you've got two different reactions. I'm like, you've got Melissa, who's like, fuck this book. And you've got me, who's like, I can't. Oh my God. Like, and then, we got one coworker that's like, I'm not reading this book. Like, you guys made this sound
too much emotion. There's too much anger and too much crying. I'm not reading.
They did it. I believe at the end they just did a really good job at all of a sudden, like, and again, this is just for me, like making it work. To where I didn't feel like I was super emotionally attached to characters, and then the end hit and I'm like, I'm emotionally attached. Also, I just thought this was funny to point out. This is the author, by the way, Gideon the 9th is her first book. But she doesn't look like she would write this stuff. This is me judging off of character, or off of like yeah, she definitely looks like she wouldn't, but you get it, Tamsin.
Yeah. So there are two more, and we were talking right before we went live that there's a book 4 in works and production. So if you like having more in a series, there's at least 2 more already out. We have all 3 in the store. But yeah, and because of like what you said, that the author doesn't get you attached. And then at the end, you're like, surprise, I am me. I'm like, what? Now you care to build us up, right? Descending. Like, you left me confused of where we were, what we were doing, and how and why, and so many people. And now suddenly you want to act like a writer and like fill in some shit. I could have been listening to something else. So, so that's where our two ends come with it. But
yeah. You've got two different sides of the spectrum, and I can understand, like, the thing is like, even though I liked it, I can understand, and there is no like, oh, I don't agree with that. I can understand why you would feel that way, because I had moments, and at least half of this book I was sitting there like, huh? And even in the beginning I was like, I need a break from this book, and I need to read a novella or something that's easier to follow, because my brain can't Gideon anymore. And, so that's definitely how this goes. I guess this is like what people would call a high fantasy. So mixed with sci-fi. And as somebody who really doesn't like sci-fi, space scares me. This is it's worth a try.
yeah, I mean, they didn't spend too much time lingering in space. So most of the space part was Gideon and her necromancer hating one another from across the room and like, don't you talk to me, and you shut your mouth, and you're my cavalier, and like, you're a bitch, and I'm gonna go look at titty mags. And then, the necromancer's like, you're not allowed to talk ever, and you better have your face paint on. And, then they get off the ship, and, they're doing the things, and Gideon's kind of stalking around as like this mysterious. And I think that's what creates this fascination all the other characters have with her, and why they pay her so much attention, because she wasn't allowed to talk.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to speak, but she showed kindness. And it was the first time that she was shown kindness in the years that she's been alive. Because it was only her and Haro. And is it, how did they say it? Did they say crew or the bodyguard? It's spelled Crux.
I think it was Cruz.
Okay. Yeah, they were all terrible to her. So it was the first time she was shown kindness, and people were like, so she showed fascination with people, and people showed fascination with her.
So the second book, I believe, is about Harlow, or not Harlow, her necromancer.
Yeah, it'll be Haro. With how it ends, it makes sense that they would go into Haro, though majority of this book was basically about her anyway. I wouldn't even say it really focuses on Gideon. Yes, it's Gideon the 9th, but you learn so much about Haro and all these other necromancers that, like, I can't say it's primarily just focused on her.
Which I think is why it was kind of hard to follow at times, because there were so many side characters. Keeping track of who belonged to what house, who was who's necromancer versus who was the cavalier versus who was friends with who wasn't, and why are they fighting. And I thought you two liked one another, but apparently you don't.
And that was another thing that was confusing, as a side note, is they don't just call people by their first name. They'll call people by their first name. They'll call people by their last name. They'll call people by what their job is. So if they're a warden, or if they're this, that, and the other, and they'll also call them by their planet number. So it's like, I don't know who's who.
Who are we talking about? Why? Yeah. But I mean, it was a unique blending of fantasy and sci-fi in a way. And I do like, there was like a little bit of, I don't want to necessarily say truth, right? Because anything woo-woo is, what is true for one may not be true for the other. But the spirit necromancers seem to follow a lot of what is generally accepted in the real world of woo-woo, and how spirit works and everything. So that part, I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's not so far-fetched right there. You know, I'm like, now if I could learn the tricks of sprinkling some dust and having skeletons rise out of the ground, that would be the shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like the bone servants, like I would love one of those for my house. I need to figure out how this guy in the corner can do that for me.
Right? Chris says this sounds like a futuristic lesbian bar from outer space. Kind of, maybe at times.
It's basically how they described it on the back is for anyone who has seen Daria, the TV show.
Right?
They say it's goofy and gleaming, a profane Daria in space. Is basically how they said it. So, but yeah, it's something. It's something. And yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we've agreed to disagree on the book. We can both see each other's side. Sarah will probably continue on. I am done in this world with that book.
No more lesbian necromancers for Melissa.
I have high hopes, you know, and I'm like, I myself do not play on that side of the playground, but I understand other people love it and good. And I'm like, you know what? The swords, the necromancy, all this other stuff. And maybe if it's written well enough, maybe I would still enjoy it. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's not even there. Second, what landscape are we in?
Second, where are we right now? That is like the best way to describe it. We're like, where's the lesbians and where are we? I don't know.
Like, I'm missing 2 of the 3 things your book said you had.
But I know we're in space, but
2 out of 4, right? Because there were swords.
There was swords.
And there was lots of necromancy.
Yes.
But not good surroundings, and there was no lesbian action. And like I said before, I can't even call it a slow burn because there was no burn.
No.
No romantic slow burn. It was how big are your muscles? Like that's as far as we were getting.
Well, we did get into it. Feelings were confessed, though I thought they came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Kind of rushed at the end.
Yeah, like where it's like, you've hated me for all these years, but now you're saying you can't live without me? What do you mean?
Yeah. Like now you're just feeling guilty, aren't you? That's what that is. That is truly guilt professing feelings that you may not really necessarily have. It's feeling guilty because you were puppeteering your parents because you killed them. And then
oh my gosh, yeah. And how she's just like, yeah, you're my only friend. Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are the only generation on your planet. And you treated the one person who was from the same generation like shit for all those years. And then you're like, you're my only friend. Like, I'm undone without you.
Yeah. So, like, do you even know what that really feels like? Because you haven't had a lot of choice to figure it out. But anyway. So, you know, if you were to ask me, I might be like, let's look at some other titles.
Yeah.
If you need a book to read. But if you ask Sierra would say,
I would say give it a shot. I would never judge anybody who's like, I had to stop, because I had moments like that where I was like, the only thing pushing me through is that maybe it'll make more sense. And lesbian necromancers, but again, who's someone who is really interested in bones and skulls and necromancy, like this had my attention. For people that aren't, I can see you being like, I'm over it.
Yeah, fair enough. So we haven't decided exactly which book, and we've been saying this every month, and at some point we need to sit down and like plan this out more so you guys can join us. Sierra mentioned a couple books. I could not find them on Audible or any sort of audio. That's the downside sometimes with some of the indie books, is there may not be Audible or audiobook version.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. That's kind of how we figure out our books, is what can I physically read and what can you listen to.
That's honestly the only way I get through books is I have to be able to listen to it while I'm doing other shit because I don't have time. Oh, hey, E-Room and friends, we're getting rated in. Um, so we were contemplating a couple. I know at one point we were maybe talking about book 3 in that witch series, even though Audible decided when I bought book 3, it was really only to give me book 2 and not book 3.
I thought that was so funny.
And I'm like, who are you, Audible, to tell me that I cannot read out of order? And there was a customer of the store who was complaining about Audible doing silly shit like that to her too. So it's not just me.
Oh, that's so
And
funny.
apparently they are worse than AOL. Remember those days? Those of us who are old enough, like when you try to cancel, like they would not let you cancel. And, she's like, I've canceled. I've, had my bank like block them. And she's like, they have the nerve to email me and go, you need to update your payment. And she's like, no, the fuck I don't. So we might go back. So it was like Her Soul to Take. Or Her
Yeah.
Soul to Keep, something. Her Soul to Keep, I think, is book 2, which was the one I didn't want.
Yeah, you've got Her Soul to Take, Her Soul for Revenge, and then Soul of a Witch.
So yeah, I wanted Soul of the Witch, and Audible was like, here is Soul for Revenge. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted.
She wants to skip the series, and Audible said, no, you have to read in order.
I'm like, we already know what happens with book 2 because they lay it out in book 1. I don't need to waste time with it. So we might do that. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to drop them in comments, whisper, message, comment. If we can get our hands on it, we'll definitely do it. And we're always kind of looking around. We're trying to be a little more thorough in deciding new books, because this is twice now we kind of got caught with a book, that very first one, that Ghost of Halloween, that trash.
It's the whole point of, I guess, of book reviews is to be like super open and honest, but we're also spending our time. So I don't want to spend my time reading a book that we hate. And the funny thing is they still got us with AI. I think we've done how many book reviews, and every time we're goddamn Ghost of Halloween.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we'll figure it out. Like, I want to get a few months lined out and put a schedule up. So if anybody wants to read along and you like reading this type, you can, read and comment and, talk about characters, the writing, the plot, all that fun stuff. But yeah, so we were trying to figure out something to tell you guys tonight to be on the lookout for next month. And I'm like, nope, no Audible, nope, no audiobook, nope, again. So
we'll figure something out. We try to stay on the spicier side of things, which is why we made it like Twitch exclusive. But I'm open to things that aren't,
yeah, which, like this one, no spice whatsoever.
No spice.
Lies, all lies. I don't know. I think at some point we'll have to get you to try some J.R. Ward for vampire. We haven't done anything vampire yet.
We need our vampires. I know we went straight from ghosts to
demons.
To demons. To demons that look like demons. To demons that look like humans. To necromancy.
Yeah. We've left some other genres out. So, but yeah. So if you guys are into that, and if you don't want to announce that publicly here, I don't know, whisper, message, email, let us know and be like, hey, this one was really good, or I've been thinking about this and I've seen good reviews on it. We're open for it. Just have to be able to get our hands on it. No dragons. You know what?
We need.
Did Opal have a dragon book?
She did, and that was the one that Darlene was obsessed with.
But she say that wasn't really Smutty. He was just a grumpy dragon.
She said there was scenes. Oh, and then we have Lord of Bones as well. That one's that one's also demons, but it's like Belial and Baal and Asmodeus, the main ones that people know about.
It's like she's like, I'm reading the Sister Solstice series right now. They're pretty good. I don't know if there's enough monster smites. No, it doesn't always have to be a monster. Just kind of in the paranormal-esque umbrella, right? Because I feel like there's enough dark romance that are just mafia, gangster, biker club, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That I'm like, there's enough discussion about those, and quite frankly, some of the more paranormal are hilarious. I have a hard time so we got a book in. What was it called? Viper.
I'm so excited for Viper. No,
I couldn't keep a straight face reading the cover. So here we have fallen angels, and they're in a biker gang, and they all have the tropey names of like Sting, Viper, Clutch, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm not going to be able to.
Keep in mind, Melissa got this book, forgot about this book, and then when it came in, started ragging on this book.
I immediately started making fun of it. And I'm like,
it's a cool concept when you think angels turn to biker gang.
I have tried the Anita Blake, and it's been a minute. It's been a while since I tried her. And she's got quite a long series for Anita. So maybe have to kick back to that one, and that one almost be like reading it again for the first time, because it's been so long that I would have forgotten enough that it would be like new again.
We'll have to do the Four Horsemen series too, if that one's on Audible.
I'll have to look for that one again. Thalassa. She had yet another book come out. Somebody else was showing another one of her books.
Oh.
Because I read the one Rhapsody book, which she was like part witch, part shifter, and he was like a fairy night king. And there wasn't really any spice in that one at all, let alone smut. But I don't think it was written to be that way anyway. And it was pretty good. There's also Dorinda Jones with her Reaper series, which they are hilarious, but they're also very spicy, and I can listen to those again. And as I'm saying this, I'm like, what is the name of the other author that I read where she is a demon summoner? She's like a cop by day, demon summoner by night, and she will summon demons to help solve mysteries.
Yes.
And like, I can see the covers of her book in my mind, but I cannot think of her name. Because Dorinda Jones does the Reaper series. But of course, like in that very first book, she actually accidentally summons like a lord, a demon lord. You're like, whoops. But yeah, the things peekaboo. Like, it's been a minute since I've read Anita. And I took a break from Anita because there were so many that I'm like, I need to like let some of this set and try again. But I remember in my borders, like she had this cult following. Every time a book came out, like they were lined up at opening. And I started just putting copies like, oh, there's 5, there's, and I would just have that many set aside on the back counter. Like, I know they're going to come asking. So just here, right here for you. But yeah, the Anita Blake series. Because I don't think you read any of that series, have you? Anita Blake is the name of the character, not the author. Kim Harrison is the author.
Okay, yeah, no. No, I have not. I had to think about it. No.
Okay. And I'm sure I can find that one in an audiobook because her books have been around forever.
Okay.
But Gideon the 9th, the one that we were talking about tonight, it is an audiobook. I found it through the library. So
and I just found it on Amazon. They were running like a huge sale on it. Like, I got this hardcover for like $18 when, if you look in the inside cover, it's supposed to be $30. Which, by the way, I have to show how pretty it is. So that's the front.
Does it have the painted edges?
No painted edges. Wasn't that fancy?
Womp womp. Uh, how far did you get into the Anita series, Peekaboo? I see you say the same. Yeah, the first book in that series is Dead Witch Walking.
Ooh.
Let me click audio book. Oh, excuse me. My caffeine for the day has left the building. What? Do you not have the... There we go. Borrow. Because I can listen while I crochet, while I crochet. I was crocheting before we went live. Working on this guy.
Baphomet. Is that a little Baphomet?
Yep, little Baphomet / bear type thing. So,
all right. I need people to find Baphomet smut.
Oh, challenge accepted. New tab. It's got to be out there. If nothing else, it's on a forum somewhere, some fanfic forum.
Yep.
I don't know. We'll have to. I can borrow the first book in the Kim Harrison. We'll have to see about you getting a copy. I could probably get one from Ingram.
Oh yeah, and we love Ingram.
So it's been a long time since I've read her, but yeah. And I'm like, what is this one over here that's sitting in my bookcase? Alexa something. I have so many books left over from Borders.
What I love is that you were like, in my bookcase, but like I see the bookcase behind you, so that means there's more books in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There's more books behind you guys. There's more books. And the sad thing is, like, I donated so many books when I packed to move to here, because going from like a 2,200 square foot house to like a 2-bedroom ranch apartment, I'm like, well, this ain't all gonna fit. Downsize books, some of your books. But yeah, so we'll look into Anita Blake at some point, maybe some of the vampires, because we haven't done them yet.
No, we haven't.
So it was Peekaboo. I kind of forgot about that series, and I don't know why, because it's a lot. There's a lot of books in there. So that is a series to get into if you like long storytelling and long world building. I'm still waiting for Opal Rain to get another audio book out, for book 4 to be on audio, book 3 on audio.
Yeah. She said there's just a lot of stuff that she has to jump through. I don't know who she does it through, but I've been trying to keep up with that. But something about being in Australia and then making it available to the United States, and I don't know. There's a whole thing that I don't quite understand.
Makes my head hurt. All right. So just to recap, Gideon the 9th, necromancy, swords, giant skeletons, dead bodies, some cannibalism, no spice. They lied about it.
Yeah.
There wasn't any.
Tears.
For Sierra. For Sierra. Anger on my time that I have spent on this book. I think people in Colorado, when I was on my layover, like looked over when I'm like, the fuck? Back up, because on the audio, you can like go back 15 or 30 seconds. I'm like, what did I miss? I missed nothing. This is it. Like,
this is it.
I'm on a layover and I don't like this ending. Like, come on.
Yeah, and to find out your god sucks. That's the ending. This guy that you're fighting for this whole time sucks.
Shows up and be like, I can't fix shit. Sorry.
Yeah, but hey, you want to travel with me? Okay.
No, lame ass. I don't. I want you to fix the shit you created, Almighty God.
I can't. He literally physically says, I am not enough.
Yeah, and there's that, guys. There's that.
Yeah.
So I was mad. Sierra's crying.
Yeah, they're very two different responses.
Mhm.
But yeah, characters consumed my brain.
But so yeah, as soon as we figure out the next book, which will be in investigating if I can order a physical copy for Sierra to be able to read, is when I have an audible or audio, I should say, because it's not always audible, that I can listen to while working and lurking and crotcheting. We'll put it out there ahead of time. So if you guys want to read ahead or with and be able to comment, that would be great. I think it would be more fun.
Yeah, I think a discussion read is really fun with everybody, because then you end up like me and Melissa that have two opposing opinions, and we're just like, okay, it's okay to be wrong.
But hear me out. What about this? I feel like there was no hear me out on this book. I would not hear me out on this book. I would pass it across the table, like knock it off like a cat. Like, what book?
What? Yeah, I think that is so funny that I think that was the first book that we agreed to disagree. And the other ones we've been like, oh yeah, this is trash. I stopped reading it.
Yeah. Like I skimmed to the end when, skip, reread. Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay. And we either have agreed that we either didn't like a book or that we did like it, or we're like, it was okay. This one, I'm like, I want the time back in my life. And, you're like, I loved it. Oh my God, it ripped my heart out. And I'm like, I'm pissed.
Emotion? This was trash.
Why do you want to suddenly show up and start writing effectively now?
So it can hit you in the heart like how it did.
I have no heart. It is dark like my soul, like the planet. So yeah, so it could be the Dead Witch Walking, Anita Blake, if I can get Sierra on board for that one. If not, we will announce it out ahead of time. So if you want to join us, you can, and you can join in our banter, our shenanigan talk, our bitching about it or raving about it, what you like or didn't like. Though I think if I remember, as I'm sitting here, like going back into the depths of memory of Anita Blake and my time at Borders, having read it. I think if I remember right, Peekaboo, don't they kind of start a little tame, but as you get into the book, like it is orgy every other page. Like that's where I was kind of like, I need a break. Like, woman, how do you even enjoy anymore? I need a little bit down from that. If I remember correctly, let me know, Peekaboo. I could be wrong, but I remember I think I was on like book 4 or 5, and there were still like 9 more that I'm like, good Lord, what are we doing here? You need a prayer, ma'am. But yeah, I mean, Mercia, if you find something else that we can get both our hands on, you were trying to today, and I'm like, nope, can't listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to find like some of the I guess smaller authors that I've been trying to find. But yeah, there is one at the store for those who are interested. We may or may not go over it. It's called Wrath of Love. That was the one that didn't have the audio. The author is really sweet. We've had small conversation back and forth, but it's if you're into Greek mythology, because it's a love story between Aphrodite and Ares. So it's at the store if you want to dabble.
Because I disliked the ending of that book, there was a bookshop in Denver called Tatter Pages, really cute little bookstore. And I had picked up a physical copy because I thought I was going to read more of it. called My Funny Demon Valentine.
Yeah.
And I had seen it like in some of the book groups, like for a day or two ahead of actually seeing it. And I'm like, oh, let me grab it. And so 4 demons who are like like higher level demons have escaped from hell, and they're hanging out at a nightclub, and they're watching this performer. And what's kind of funny is the main demon boyfriend, he is like the demon of lust, but there's been a curse placed on him, so women just ignore him. Like, he has no power. And this girl like can see through this, and she's like, "My God, you are hot." And he's like, "Me? You mean me?" And that's about as far. Nope, I lied. So then at some point she sees him in demon form, and he's like, "Oh shit." And that's about as far as I got before the plane was landing. No audio of that one yet, because I'm like, I'm going to get through this one so much quicker if I have an audio to listen to, and there's no audio. But I'm like, how tropesy. The demon of lust has no power except for this one human mortal.
It's always the one.
Yeah. Hard trope right there. But it seemed like it was going to be cute, and it's a pretty book, bright neon pink page or sprayed edges with little hearts and everything on the edging. It's really cute.
That cover was really pretty.
So and it was only like $19 too, so
Wow.
like, oh, not bad. We'll grab it. Started to read it, and the plane landed, and then it was time to go find all the rocks and do all the things, and I haven't been back to it yet. So because I haven't figured out how to read a book and crochet at the same time. So
yeah, I don't know if you can.
Maybe I haven't been trying hard enough. I don't know.
You need an invention to do both at the same time. You make millions.
I need a reading demon to stand next to me and read the books to me when I can't find my audiobook version. That's what I need.
That is a kink of some sort.
That is sexy as hell. Stand there and read to me. Okay. But okay. We've rambled enough. Gideon the 9th. Sierra loved it. I would push it off the table. There are 2 more books in the series, so if you like something that's at least a trilogy, book 4 is on its way, so you have at least 2 more before book 4 comes out. And maybe Anita Blake, maybe another one for next month. We'll let you guys know so you can jump in. But yeah, you got any parting words, Sierra?
No, that's it.
No. Now it's time to go watch Reacher. Rawr.
Alan Rickman.
Kicking ass. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. And as soon as we have that title out, we'll let you know so you can join us. But otherwise, we will see you the 3rd Thursday in March for the next book talk.
Bye.